Hey, it's Mr. Johns. Welcome back to Planet Zoo. Let's take a look at what's going on in Winter Zoo. First of all, the big news is I inserted a penguin, a king penguin habitat, and had some penguins delivered. And I had done this before in a previous zoo, and they were super successful. A little bit hard to take care of because they can kind of overrun you. Soon you'll have hundreds, it seems like. But I had other issues that I did not suspect, and you will not believe what I found after I started tearing the habitat apart. So, a little bit interesting. And as all these guys get delivered, of course I am checking. The first thing you do is you check the habitat, make sure that it's meeting the requirements, and adjusting certain things. Have to bring in the temperature regulator and the water cleaner. Also, they were complaining about too many plants and bushes in the habitat, and there were very few. So I took those all out, and they were still complaining. But I'm scrolling around looking for every little scrap of bush or tree just to get rid of those things, and realizing they don't care. They don't want any greenery. They want rocks. So I'm getting rid of everyone, and then checking the graph. So after you do that, you go back and check their graph, and it'll show you, green is good, orange not as good, red bad. So you see red, you need to make some changes, and it just kept saying too much foliage, too many plants and trees. So I just kept taking them out, and there's not that many, but kept taking them out. And if you go back and click on a penguin, it will tell you how happy they are, and it'll say, you can also click on the habitat gate, and it'll give you an overall, right here, an overall glimpse at the habitat as a whole, and it kept saying too much. So this is where you adjust the sand, the soil, the snow, etc. And it just kept saying too much, and I just was kind of at a loss here. It did eventually occur to me, as I'm getting every last scrap, it did occur to me that very likely underneath the water is completely covered in bushes. So I think here in a second I take a dive in and go check it out. But I just could not figure that out for the longest time. Why are they complaining? There's zero trees. Now you have to keep in mind this is all mathematical. Just like in a SimCity kind of game, it's all based on math. So it knows, I'm looking in the cracks and crevices, it knows within the perimeters of the habitat if there's any, it knows what's in that area completely. And then that throws that into some kind of mathematical formula, and it comes up with a percentage from that. So you can see here I'm looking, thinking, wait. So I dive in, and I realize the entire bottom, not the entire bottom, but a lot of the bottom of the habitat is covered with growth. And so continue to remove those and keep checking back until it says green, which is exactly what we want it to say. So that kind of clears that up just a little bit, and that should make for some pretty happy. The only thing they're complaining about is not enough hard shelter. So it looks like they've got a couple spots, but they're saying that's not enough. And again, mathematical, right? So they know how much area, square footage, there is compared to the number of penguins in the habitat. So you've got to increase that. Now, in the meantime, I get a little pop-up that says the grizzly bear had a baby. And I was trying to watch it close enough that I could see when the baby was born, but I missed it. I was too busy with the penguins. But here this little guy is. He's super cute. So we'll take a quick look at him. He's just a little cub. So happy to have 3 grizzly bears now in the zoo. He's just super cute. Come on. Super cute. So, now we have a mom and dad and baby grizzly bear, which is super cool. So in the meantime, I kept getting notifications that the penguins were too hot, and I changed the temperature of the water. I added coolers. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm in the Arctic, but they were boiling hot, and I could not cool them down. And I was about ready to get rid of all the penguins, honestly, and switch to a different animal. But it just some kind of weird glitch. But what I did is I realized after I pressed H on the keyboard for heat map, and I'll show you in a moment. When you press H, it shows you, here we go. And this whole thing was orange, by the way. Very little yellow. But it was all orange and actually some red in a few places. And I thought, that makes no sense. Why are the rocks hot? And I just downloaded this habitat, and then take a look. Watch what I do here. I'm a little bit upset about it, but I found 3 or 4 heaters in the rock, embedded in the rock, underneath of the rock. And this is a penguin habitat that I downloaded. So it was cooking my penguins. My penguins were super hot. And I checked the temperature. It says right there in the upper right corner, 86 degrees. And they need it to be like 32 and up, but definitely not that hot. So I had to take the rocks off, remove the heaters, and then put the rocks back. And now they're perfectly happy. But what a weird thing to find. So we have grizzly bear habitat, lower left, king penguin habitat, upper left. And here is when you press H, I want to show you. And I slowed everything down quite a bit so I have time to explain what we've got going here. And you can go through each of these categories, and it really will help you a lot. And I apologize for not making that full screen. Didn't catch that before I hit record. So here are the grizzly bears, and if you can select any of the animals you have, and it'll show you several things. One, it'll show you how much room they have to cruise around, and that really helps, because if they have to have a whole bunch, and you think you do, there may be an area that they're not able to get to, and so that map can show you that pretty easily. So everything is also color coordinated. So typically, again, green is happy, orange not so much, red not happy at all, unhappy. So this second category is how much they can traverse, what I was talking about. So it's going way too slow. Apologize for that. I made it so slow so I'd have time to talk about it. But I'm talking faster than it. And I can't speed it up now, I don't think. Nope, can't. So I'm basically going to go chase down this grizzly bear. It's kind of cool. You can see the heat maps from above, like being in a drone or an airplane. And so I'm trying to click on it. But what I'm not realizing here is in the upper right corner, it thinks I'm trying to edit something. And so I'm trying to click on the bears, but it's not taking it. So here in a second, I'll realize that, and I'll click on the exit, which I just did. And because I'm not trying to edit something, I'm just trying to click on the grizzly bear. So here we go. This is going to show us everything in blue are areas that they can access. They're not too steep. They're not trees, etc. So that room to roam. So that gives you an idea, kind of big picture, looking down. And this is temperature. So looking at the temperature, you can see the people are cold. They're the coldest. I have not figured out how to do hand warmers or sweaters, or the people are just cold. I mean, it's the tundra. They should come prepared. Bring a coat. So this is water temperature. This is also how I figured out that I had to move a water regulator, which is the orange thing in the middle of that circle. I had to move it over to the left, so it covered the grizzly bear water as well. It was not regulating the grizzly bear water. I have a feeling I may have to move the filtration system over as well so that the grizzly bear water doesn't get dirty. It probably will. So here is just buildings. You can see every building at a glance. This is how unhappy people are by what the buildings are. So this is the temperature regulator that I just slid over, and it's right next to the path. It's even on the path a little bit. So that's why that circle is the biggest. So that is making people quite unhappy. And then the staff buildings, I think that's ridiculous, but I tried to hide them with trees, but the staff buildings people don't like to see. Also, if you see a knocked over trash can, this is a really helpful way to quickly see things that are bothering people. So I didn't know that until I accidentally tapped H. See, once I put or replaced the trash can, it's no longer red. You can also see litter on the ground, which is there's a big blob over there on the left on the pathway. There weren't enough trash cans, or they were tipped over, and the caretakers aren't keeping up. So that gives me some good information as well. But that trash needs to be picked up. So a lot of ways to manage your zoo and these heat maps. When I first saw read the word heat map, I thought it truly was just heat, but it's kind of like information. It's like if you sent a drone up and it could tell you all this high-tech data, not just heat. So we're looking at guest happiness, and also it'll show us staff happiness. So you can see the guest happiness. There's a lot of reds, and what you can do is zoom in and see why. You can actually click on each guest, which is really cool. Now, some of the guests are super happy. They have green. Some are yellow, but there's quite a few that are red, and that's not good news for me as the zoo owner. And so I can click on this one person here, and it can tell me he didn't see the boa constrictor, so that was a bummer. He stood in line for a long time to get on the train, and then didn't see any animals, or didn't see very many animals. It'll tell you things like that. Had to wait too long for the bathroom. So you can learn a lot. If you have time to just kind of pause and stop building, and just go, and maybe truly pause the game and go read people's thoughts, you might discover that you need a second bathroom, or you need to make some changes. So I learned a lot from this. So if you're playing the game, don't forget to press H and use the heat maps to educate yourself so you can improve your zoo. I almost got rid of a whole group of penguins because of it, because of not knowing that was there. And then once I hit H, I saw that the rocks were hot. That made zero sense to me. I literally started removing rocks, digging in, digging down, thinking that makes no sense. But sure enough, I found heaters in the rocks. Crazy. That's crazy. These are penguins who have to be cold, so there'd be no reason that heaters would be there. I just don't know if it's a practical joke or if there was another purpose for the heaters, but those penguins never need, and it's called a king penguin habitat. Those penguins never want to be that hot, so I tend to think maybe it was done on purpose. But hey, hope you learned something. Come back and catch me again. For now, Mr. Johns is out.